I remember because Kong and I go way back, and we were able to reconnect by working with each other regularly at TNA, and we would talk about these things. We were two broke ass bitches just trying, and we weren't the only ones. And it was rough. And going back to why I quit, to refresh the listeners and viewers out there, you know, I was just struggling. I constantly was getting things shut off in my place I was living at. So it was rough. Like the gas would be shut off a lot. So I had to take cold showers, which I was grateful to be able to take a shower, but it's rough when that shower is cold and there's no temperature. That is rough. It's really, really rough. Um, just different things. And when I because my contract had said that if they renewed me for the next year, because it was for a year, that I would get $100 bump. Now, even though that wasn't much, I adding up that $100 bump would be helpful. It'd be better than I was doing. So I got this role for this movie, independent film, and they needed me for like a week. And this was when we were supposed to have in Canada, there was a pay-per-view, and LAX was feuding with Team 3D, and I had asked Terry Taylor via email. I told him, "Look, I got this gig coming up. I need it to pay my rent so I don't get kicked out. Can I just go through a table at the pay-per-view, and then I'll be out for TV so I can go do this movie?" And he pretty much told me no, that I like just he said, "Let's talk about it when you get here," which I thought was that's saying no. So then I said, "Look, I'll flake on this gig if you give me my $100 bump now." And I feel like this was like a month or so before I would have gotten it. I feel like it was in September. I could be wrong, but I feel it was in September. My contract was up in October. So he said he couldn't do that. And so that's when I said, "Well, then I'm gonna have to quit." Because I was counting on that money for that film to pay my rent because I was already getting an eviction notice. So I had to have that money. I had to. And I felt like if I got at least that bump, I could at least go to the landlord and be like, "Look, I just got a raise, da da da." I had something to work with. But if they weren't going to give me that bump and I went to there anyways, I had nothing to work with, so I
Right.
panicked, and that's why I quit. And it was out of fear. It was out of what am I gonna do? I need at least this buys me another month to figure it out is what it was. And so hearing Kong say that, it's like all of us were going through our own stuff at that time. And it was so crazy because one could say, well, TNA wasn't where it was at its super height just yet, but still, it was doing good. You had people on the roster, like she said, like a Kurt Angle, who are making all this money. We're just asking for enough to like live off of. We're not even asking to like, oh, I need this, this, and that. It's like we need if we're gonna be ride or die for you guys to make you money, can you at least let us live on our off time so that we heal properly? We're not worried about these things. We're able to like get that rest and all this before the next show. But they did the vibe I got was, I'm sorry to hear that, but that's kind of your problem. That was the vibe.
Yeah, that's cruel. That's messed up.
So to hear, because I saw that post that was circulating about Kong saying that, and it triggered me. I was like, yeah, that was how it was. That was the vibe of sorry to hear that, but that you got to figure it out because it's not our problem. But we need you to be here, okay? Got it? Good. That was the vibe.
See, I mean, and with people romancing now TNA in that era, people aren't romancing the fact that people were not making the money that they probably should have deserved. That $100 probably wasn't going to break the bank at that point, based off of the fact that they were being financed by, a nuclear power plant, essentially. So, I mean, I really think that yeah, they kind of screwed you in that regard. But it
1000%.
wasn't just you. It really wasn't just you. The roster was big. It was an interchangeable environment. So we could
You
take
know what
you
makes me
out.
upset though is, and I didn't think about this until recent times, but I was coming right off of WWE TV, so I
Yeah.
don't understand why I couldn't at least gotten $500 a show. Like, at least. Like, I don't understand why, like, here's the thing, and I'm not putting down anyone, it's just I literally they got me after my 90-day complete clause, and here I am, and even though I'm a completely different character, I literally was just on WWE TV, just like some of these dudes were, even though I'm nowhere near the names that they are, but still, they came from there. So you couldn't pay me $500 a show? But you know what I'm saying? Like, that would have been
Oh, I
do
think it'd be
so
such a
helpful.
different game now. It would be such a different game now compared to then. Because when we talked about what was it, Bound for Glory? Is that what we watched
Yeah.
the last time?
Mhm.
You were one of the listed, big debuts of the show. I mean, a couple people debut, but you were, oh, here's Shelly Martinez. Like this was an actual like debut of an outside talent from WWE. We don't want to, I don't know if we want to use the phrase jumping ship, but there weren't many people that went from WWE to TNA during that time frame, but you are one of them. So I completely agree with you. But if it was now, that's considered to be a big signing. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. Just again, people romancing the way things were then without knowing the full story. This is telling a piece of it. It's looking at it more from the Jeff Jarrett point of view. I mean, I listened to the Dark Side Brain Trust on Cornette's podcast talk about it. They had so much to talk about with Jeff. It became a 3-part Jeff Jarrett story. Excuse me. But there's so much more to TNA than just telling the Jeff Jarrett story, in my opinion. Like
Mhm, mhm.
they hit little pieces here and there, but I mean, like I went to TNA house shows that weren't TNA house shows. They were run by an independent company that just had TNA branding on it. And had they really been true TNA house shows, maybe that would have been a game changer money wise for everybody. But they weren't. They were run by Hermie Sadler, the NASCAR driver, and you would see people on those shows that weren't on TNA, and you'd be like, "Oh wow, this is great! I'm seeing TNA action, but a couple of like names that I don't necessarily see on TV." So, I mean, they're not telling the full story, and that's a piece of it. Yes, we're hearing about Kong. Yes, we're hearing she said champions, but we're not hearing about the whole roster. And again, here Shelly's gone now. Okay, now replace Shelly with another female talent that we can put into the knockouts division.
And here's the thing, I'm curious if Gail Kim and Christy Hemme fall in that category of not getting paid, and they probably did. Like, I'm not trying to be like, "Oh, they probably didn't get that." Like, I guess I never really thought of it. It's like because they too were people who, especially, like, I forget where Gail was. Did she go, like, from WWE to TNA, or was there a time
She went back and forth. I mean, she
that sh
went TNA, WWE, WWE, TNA. Like she was back and forth a handful of times, but I'm not sure if she started in TNA and then went to WWE. I don't remember.
well, either way, I'm curious, and they could have very well been the same thing, totally chump changed out. I have no idea. I just never thought about that until now. I always just think about, you know why? Because I think about the girls who I got tight with at that time. So we would talk about these things. So of course I knew their business. Well, you know what I'm saying? Like they were struggling too and things like that. So I don't know. I was never tight with them to be like, so are you broke too? You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
I'm curious if they were broke ass bitches too, or if they had a different deal, I wonder.